Hello, listeners, and welcome to a very special episode of the OIC podcast. My name is Noah Hansen, here again with Kevin Peterson. How are you today, Kevin?
Blessed and highly favored, and glad to be here.
As always, it seems. Today we have a very special episode, and it's on two of the 5 elements that we talk about pretty regularly here on the OIC podcast. And the 2 that we're talking about today are teaching and training. Now, the 5 elements in total, teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding, have all been a big part of In a New Way LLC. But this episode will focus only on the first 2 elements. So, Kevin, start us out here with a brief overview of teaching and training and why they're so important.
All right, well, thank you, Noah. A teacher, also called a school teacher, or formerly an educator, is a person who helps students to acquire knowledge, competence, and virtue. Informally, the role of a teacher may be taken on by anyone when showing a colleague how to perform a specific task. So that is, in a brief, what teaching is, right? Now, training. Training is very important because it is the backbone of what we do. Training is the action of leading a person or persons to a particular skill or type of behavior. Training has specific goals of improving one's capability, capacity, productivity, and performance. So, we're talking about a wholeness of character.
Yes.
We're talking about a completion of being able to set your foot in the right direction, being able to then see the pathway to your prosperity in each and every guiding step. So teaching, very simply, is the ability to be able to know something with such great intimacy that you can't wait to be able to share it with someone else. The training part is very simple as well, to where you now have mastery over it, and that not only do you enjoy thoroughly the information, the knowledge, and the experience, but you really have a wholeness and a strong foothold in the educational process of what you need to do next. That's so important. Noah, what do you like best about teaching and training?
Well, Kevin, what I like best about teaching and training in any area of life is the results that they bring. The difference it makes in my life in particular is that when I acquire knowledge, when I have teaching from reliable sources, that knowledge can almost immediately be applied to my life or, my mind, how my thoughts work to be able to improve my life. And in training, I understand while I'm doing it that there's this motivation factor that almost immediately comes up while I'm training, in that I understand that I'm being developed as a person in character, in physicality, but I'm leading myself to a better place because of this training. And usually a training process involves some sort of trainer, whether it's the person who gave you the teachings in the first place to be able to utilize them for your own training individually, or a trainer right alongside you, like you've been right alongside me for many of these processes in my life, as far as life coaching goes. So I understand that in training, I'm not just taking a teaching and not doing anything with it. I'm actually utilizing it to be able to actually affect me internally, not just, in that one moment that I acquired the teachings.
Right. And would you say that emotionally, physically, and spiritually, it not only gives you the footprint, but it also gives you the stepping stones to be able to move yourself in the right direction every day?
Oh, yes. And that's where the motivation comes in and what we'll be talking about on that episode. But as far as training in the moment that I'm doing it, it can be a very negative experience because I don't like the training. I don't like the exertion
Well, yeah, it's like a physical workout.
Right.
Not all of us really thoroughly enjoy going to the gym
Right.
to be physically fit. But if you already knew the techniques prior to going to the gym, so you can be able to immediately maximize what you need to work on,
Right.
then that becomes not only beneficial, not only does it become rewarding, but it also saves a lot of time and hassle in your everyday routine, right?
Correct. So if you have already been taught how to train, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Right. So getting back to teaching is that teaching is the number one foundation builder for being able to, in the physical, verbally express to someone and physically show someone the positives and negatives of an action or reaction. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other benefit of teaching is being able to learn yourself in that process, because everyone teaches differently. Everyone expresses the information differently. And the more that you're around other teachers, you get to be able to learn in a harmonious manner a way of being able to adopt many different practices within your own practice. So that if you are not resonating with someone with one technique or procedure, you can immediately flip the script and go to another, and to be able to test its ability in teaching someone the same thing. Without setting the foundation of teaching, the training part becomes very irrelevant. Teaching comes from a deep dive, a deep study, and a deep dedication, and being able to have mastery over the information first prior to opening up your mouth and giving that information out to someone else, right?
Right.
How can we get mastery in teaching? You and I, we have known that there is a mirrored technique to where you can literally speak in front of a mirror and to be able to see if you're resonating with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
If what you, in physical reflection, look at and you can't relate to it, you know that there's something unrelatable to that information. And so you need to be able to change up and physical character makeup how you express that information. Sometimes you need a dramatic pause. Sometimes you need to be able to speed up the information. And other times you need to be able to use highs and lows when being able to then resonate the information to other people. For many teachers, they're completely aware of this. They go through college and they learn all these different micro techniques, right?
Right.
But here is the foundational closure to teaching. It is that you need to be the exact blueprint or representation of the personality trait of the person you're talking to. Because Noah, how many different personality traits are there in people?
Oh, I'm not sure. There must be a multitude of personality traits.
Right. But you have a standard of 4, right?
Okay, go give them to me. Let me hear it.
Okay, Noah. So the 4 personality types are driver, expressive, amiable, and analytical. The driver wants it just clean and simple and to the point. Driver just wants that information as quickly as possible. That's why they're called the driver.
Gotcha.
The expressive wants you to be able to not only use your facial features, but to be able to use your hand gestures and being able to bring that image to life. Amiable is what you do when you literally need to put your hands on it, to be able to mold it, to be able to create it, to be able to design it in a certain way that fits your personality, right?
Gotcha.
Then the analytical, which a lot of us are, needs to have the hard, cold facts. needs to be able to look at all the data, all the research, all the, percentages of things to be able to psychoanalyze the information to such a discrete point to where there could be no room left for error, right?
Yep.
So, with that being said, is that knowing your 4 temperaments or knowing your personality types, the A, B, C, or D, there are 4 basic personality types. Each have strengths and weaknesses, influencing hiring or retention, as well as management strategies as well. What we need to do is we need to be able to tap in when we're teaching and when we're training on what type of personality we are. So this study is going to be in another episode. We're going to go over those in depth because it's important to be able to know who you are when it comes to teaching and training someone, because you want to find like-minded people that speak your language, that are in your lane, right? When you go out of your lane and to be able to talk to the other personality types, you need to be able to hone in on the very specific elements of those personalities in order to be able to maximize the information that you're trying to get across.
Right, in order to work with each other on a more productive level.
Yes.
And positive.
So, with that being said, with the 4 different personality types, there are tests that you can take online, and we'll leave the links below. There's several different tests you can be able to take. When it comes to the different types, you need to think as a teacher on how to be a chameleon. A chameleon is an animal that can be able to literally change colors and to be able to blend in with the environment, right?
Right.
So think like a chameleon, and as you're walking up these tree limbs of knowledge and information, to be able to see what color, what picture that they have in their mind, so that you can be able to blend in with it and be in unison and harmony with them as they're learning the information, so they hunger and have a desire and a yearningness to be able to learn more.
Right. If you haven't picked it up by now, listeners, this episode is not only for when you are being taught, but for when you are being a teacher as well.
Yes. Because teaching is the backbone of life. When you graduate and become a teacher, you become a leader. You become someone of authority, whether you like it or not. The natural step from teaching is then training someone on how to become a teacher.
Right.
Our study courses, our booklets, our information, our whole foundation is built on a solid teaching fundamental and ground, right? We need for you to be aware that none of our teaching is like quicksand. You'll be able to easily create your own view, your own vision, your own boardwalk, your own stepping stones to a bigger and better you every time that you apply the principles that we teach. The reason why it resonates so well with so many listeners is because it's immediately adaptable and it's very simple to apply. We don't try to put in big, high pollutant words that just filter your brain with, well, now, what did he say? we give you common, simple, just normal, natural conversation of training to be able to then elevate you to that next level. And it's so rewarding when we see our students be able to graduate from our academies to be able to then lift themselves higher so that they can be more to more people that they love, right?
Right.
Because humanity wants us to be able to be liked, loved, valued, appreciated, and respected. And that's a teacher. The trainer is the one that you give the applause to when they are up on stage and being able to then present the information, right? That's a second level of greatness, is when you no longer have to question what you're saying. You no longer have to be able to question how it works, because you're starting to be at the trainer level, the example setter of it, right?
Right. Yes. When you get trained in something, you definitely acquire a greater grasp on what you've been taught.
Now, some people have a great fear of public speaking, and I don't blame you, because there's so much information out there in the world that I can understand and I can resonate with you as far as your hesitancy to be able to want to speak. But please keep it in mind, listeners, that your voice has power. Your voice has authority. Your voice has wisdom and knowledge that you, if you were to allow yourself to become unlocked, if you're allowed to become free of who you truly are, you'd be able to say things in a new way. And here at In a New Way, we teach you on how to be able to be the best possible you ever. We train you to be able to develop yourself so that you can develop others, right?
Yes.
And the best part is that it is all simple information. Some people call it common sense. I call it a blessing. Because what you can do with this information is you can be in constant review of the information page by page by page. And as you are turning the page, you're turning the page on a brand new you every page. You can be able to stop, fast forward, rewind the page, and to be able to really adopt the information in the way that you want other people to adopt you in friendship, right?
That's right. Yes.
So when it comes to building courage, when it comes to building up your life essence of who you are, it's very important to be able to know how to teach someone so that then you can be able to train them on how to be their best selves so that together you can be in harmony and unison and you can just enjoy life, enjoy the company of those people because those people matter just like your soul matters, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's where I bring it in biblically. And for those of you that don't have that stronger walk, it's a beautiful, simple, little statement. When you are who you are, everyone listens. But when you fake it, when you try to recreate it, when you try to restructure it, when you try to be able to do anything outside of the normal element of who you are, then nobody wants to listen to that because it all becomes static, right? It all becomes noise in the background. It all becomes kind of misplaced in priorities of people's lives, right? So to be able to break the static, envision for those people that are old enough to be able to turn a radio dial knob, to be able to tune in a station, you had to go through a generous amount of static, high and low noise prior to you getting to the station you want to listen to, right? So the teaching process and the training process is that dial. As you're literally turning the dial from left to right, not only are you turning up the volume, not only are you turning up the value, not only are you turning up the essence of who you are, but you can be able to start to proclaim your greatness by just being who you are. Many people have a struggle just getting to that level of who they are as a person. Amen? But through our teaching, our training, our motivating, our directing, and our guiding, we will be able to give you the elements that you need to not only strive and survive, but to be able to succeed indeed in every way, but in a new way. A comforting, simple, relaxed environment that you can be able to adopt and feel comfortable with. It's something that becomes so intimate and so personal that it can't help but to be shared with other people because it all starts and ends with you.
Yes, I agree. Very inspirational, Kevin. Let's talk a little bit about how you've been taught, how you've been trained to be able to share this wealth of knowledge in a new way.
To put it simply, is that my father told me a long time ago when I was a child that I needed to hang around and socialize and be with those people that were actually setting an example that he saw in me that I could become. So he got me around people that were great teachers, and from Pat Rosno to several other people like Mr. Miller, and I can go on and on and on. There have been people throughout my educational process of things to which I still value them, I still respect them, and that they are who they say that they are. They didn't have to try to recreate a character to be the teacher that they were, right? So it made it easier for me to be able to then learn from them because they weren't trying to agendize my way of learning. They were literally being so humble and being so kind and being able to show me the different ways that I could be able to learn, that it inspired me to want to continue to learn, right?
Correct. Yes, that is a big, important part right there.
Secondly, since they didn't have an agenda, when I learned the information, then they entrusted me with being able to then teach and train other students just like they taught me. So I'd be able to, do summer school with people. I would be able to be in study groups. I would be called upon at home. How did you get to this simple mastery of this answer, right? And so people were starting to look up to me, and I felt good about it. But it was about the information and not me.
Okay. So what do you do about it?
So what I did about it is, since I really enjoyed that feeling, that emotion, that expressiveness of character, is then I ended up reading a ton of books. And listeners, please understand, is that I was on average 30 books per year. And I know for some of you, that's not a lot. But wait, when you're going through grade school, going through high school, that's a ton, right?
Yeah.
Because, it gets almost into, don't want to say this, but, kind of either chick territory or nerd status, right?
Sure.
But
very superficial.
It's very superficial. But what I learned in reading is that I acquired a vocabulary that was very resonating.
Okay.
Because I could be able to talk more like an adult. I could be able to use words that I normally thought that I couldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I was able to utilize the vocabulary to be able to resonate with those people that wanted to listen to me.
Yes.
So with all that in mind, that's what got me motivated in the first place to become a teacher. Once I had mastered the teaching part of my life and had moved on to college and into the military, I really got into the training element. In the military, it really taught me on how to be able to train someone on how to be their best selves and then some. If it wasn't for the military being able to train me to be able to know that I have no limits except for what is in my brain, then I would have remained average, boring, and the same, right? But instead, I chose a higher path, a greater walk, and I allowed the military to be able to mold me, to be able to condition me, to be able to inspire me, to be able to be a better trainer. And then I had, when I got up into the ranks, be able to have people under me that I could be able to teach and train as well. And what ended up happening is it became such a natural process that people really were starting to request me from other units, from other departments, because of the simplicity and the resonating power that I had in my training sessions. The reason why the information that Noah and I produce works is because not only have we been there, did that, done that, but we have implemented it into our lives, and we are the physical in flesh versions of everything that we teach, train, motivate, direct, and guide other people to become. And being the physical element, being the it factor, being the person that can be able to help you to be able to live a better life, to have a better life, and to be able to desire a better life, all starts by learning something in a new way. The reason why we call our website, our business, and our life in a new way is because Noah and I had to be able to come up with a new way, in a new way, to be able to get this information across that would be resonating, to be able to be empowering, to be inspiring and uplifting, all while utilizing the greatest gift ever, the Word of God.
Right, not only for ourselves, but for other people as well.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, is that we encourage you, we really humbly welcome you to inanewway.com. There is so much of great wealth of information, not only on the website, but in our personal communication with you as well. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we are all over the planet. And the reason why we are is because where you are is where we want to be as well. You have to understand is that the reason why we have these podcasts, the reason why we have these video series, the reason why we have the trainings in place is because your life matters. And all we're trying to do is be able to get it out to you today in a new way, starting today. So if you resonate with this information, if this information empowers you, if it makes you want to be able to grow as a person, we welcome you, we value you, we appreciate you. But most importantly, when you find the it factor within you, you become you. And that's what we're trying to do, is to be able to restore you back to who you were supposed to be in the first place, between you and God.
Yes, well, I resonated with that completely, Kevin. That's exactly how I feel about this whole journey that we're taking. Our next episode will feature the next stepping stone in this 5-step process, motivating. Motivating yourself, motivating other people, where you can find that motivation to keep going, to keep pressing forward. We look forward to meeting you on that episode. Thank you once again for tuning in.
This has been another life-enhancing, authenticated podcast aired by the OIC and brought to you by the faithful OIC sponsors and contributors. Please tune in every week and subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, explore our website with all the posts, videos, and podcasts that we have created with you in mind. While you're on the journey through our website, you will see our Patreon page where you can become a faithful contributor yourself with the freedom to be a part of our team today. Thank you.